Can get through it. We get a little bit of echo. We get a little bit of feedback. The title of the lesson is called The Pitfall of Temptation. The Pitfall of Temptation. We're coming from Genesis 39, 1 through 12. We're going to continue to talk about Joseph. I know that we talked about Joseph last week, about what his brothers had done to him and how he was done wrong by his brothers, and now he's in slavery. The point is remembering what is at stake help us to overcome temptation. Hopefully she'll work on this feedback. You guys all right? Sister Sharita? The feedback. I got a little echo. Thank you, ma'am. So remembering what is at stake help us overcome temptation. I mean, yielding to temptation is an individual responsibility. Can't blame nobody but yourself. The lesson right here is very true to me. Like you guys know, I left Dow Chemical, and I left because it's that time of period there. We're doing some wrong things. I had some responsibilities, and I just didn't agree with what was going on. In my second career, I did a lot of traveling, and a chance to, you pray to God for Him to guide you. And you always ask, God, guide me to the next place or what have you. There were some things that I saw that I didn't like there. But in my next opportunity, she showed me, because now I'm consulting, I see a whole bunch of things, and it's everywhere, okay? And it's how you deal with what's going on. So it allowed me to travel, it allowed me to be away from home, it allowed me to see the world, and it allowed a lot of temptations for both ends, I'm married. So for me, for Sandra, or whoever. But the one thing that you learn when you're doing that, because even if my goal was to keep my family here in the area, I had jobs elsewhere that I could have moved to, but I didn't want to move. So you make that trade-off. So even though that type of lifestyle, you learn a lot, but you got to be true to yourself. You got to know what you're about, because the old saying goes, when it comes down to temptation, Charles Simmons says, like he used the word halt, H-A-L-T, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And when you're out there, it's easy. I mean, not that you're looking for anything or what have you, but you can say, hey, let's go out to dinner with someone, or let's do this right here. And you're lonely, you're tired, you have to say, oh, well, hey, you're in Europe, no one ain't gonna know. So you gotta be true to yourself. So what I learned from that about temptations, I did a lot of reading. And what's really funny, when I read this lesson, a lot of the verses that we're going to be reading here were ones that I had read before. And like verses that we would use to counsel young men about yielding to temptation. Now, this lesson right here, we're going to talk about Potiphar and his wife and how she wanted to do the wild thing with Joseph. and it caused a lot of problems. It could have caused a lot of problems. But my point is, and like you think, well, this is the lesson for young people. Wrong. Folks say, well, hey, you gotten too old to do things that you used to do. That's a lie, okay? There are people out there that make you think that, hey, man, well, what about this? So this is a good lesson for everybody. I was reading an article a while back. There was a senior citizen home over in Florida, and they had this outbreak, and the outbreak was syphilis. Because the old folks, the 70s, 80s, man, and because of Viagra, they were doing the same thing that they'd been doing before when they were young. So don't think that because I'm about to retire, I'm retired, that I can't yield to temptation or whatever. It's there. Whether it's going to be money or stuff or individuals, because as you get older, you get lonely, and sometimes as you get lonely, you get dumb. Folks can approach you in ways that you wouldn't normally could be approached because, hey, you are lonely. All right, so this lesson right here, what I'm trying to do, it pops out, it's a strong lesson. So as I go through and read the verses, we're going to discuss also. Now, we're coming from Genesis 1 through 7, and I like the way you can read your Bible, but I like the way the lesson put it, the version that they use, it puts it in plain speak here. It says, now Joseph was taken to Egypt, and an Egyptian named Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guards, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. Verse 2, and every Christian should hear this right here. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man servant in the household of his Egyptian master. The Lord was with Joseph. As Christians, we have to remember, if you're a Christian, the Lord is with you. And your faith is what empowers that. The reason why we fall back and forth is that we don't go, right now, there's so much noise out there with social media, we forget about our faith. Okay? You got folks telling you that you got to see it. No, faith. And I'm having I would quote that from Hebrews. But your faith is the catalyst of your belief. And your faith will guide you through. Now, everybody wants to say, hey, I want to see the result right now. No, faith. So here he's saying that the Lord was with Joseph, okay, and he became a successful man. Joseph's brothers had backstabbed him. They lied to the father. They sold him into slavery. All kinds of bad things happened to Joseph during that period of time. The Lord was with Joseph. So when you're going through your hard times, or when you think that things aren't going wrong, I am a Christian. The Lord is with me. And as I'm going up that rough side of that mountain, maybe he's showing me some things that I need to see that I have to grow into. When I left Dow Chemical, there's no way I would have learned the things that I learned now by staying there. Because if you go into a different country, or a different world, different language, you learn different things. The question is your ground fertile to learn? Now, Joseph could have had a pity party and say, woe is me. Part of our culture right now, we're in this victim society. Woe is me. Woe is me. We come from generations of folks that didn't have nothing, and man, this kept on going. With whatever they had. Now we have more than what we ever had before. Woe is me. Okay? The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, serving in the household of his Egyptian master. He wasn't in his land, and even though he was successful, and guess what? Now, he was a servant. Don't forget now, Joseph is property. He got bought. So when everybody said, well, hey, man, he ain't a man, he was property, but the Lord was with him. So when someone tells you, well, hey, man, well, you're bonded, this man don't matter. The Lord is with me, and the Lord will make you successful. Next point here. Now, when his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord made everything he did successful, Joseph found favor with his master and became his personal attendant. Potiphar also put him in charge of his household and placed all that he owned under his authority. Once again, Joseph is in bondage. The Lord is with him. Now, Joseph didn't walk around with his Bible trying to save souls. He just lived his life. And I think that a lot of Christians right now, you don't have to preach someone a sermon. All you got to do is live your life. Because, see, your faith, your story is how you live. A lot of times, the reason why folks don't have power is because they want to say one thing, live a different way. You got to be all in. That's a tough thing to say. And sometimes, even with me, even with you, with all of us, sometimes that lesson has to be learned the hard way. Sometimes the Lord has to take you down a dark road for you to see what the light really is. One of the problems that we have right now with our kids right now, and with society in general, everybody believes that they're entitled. They don't want to work for anything. I'm entitled, okay? I have freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want to say, do whatever I want to do. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's kind of funny. Non-believers and folks who are weak in faith, God gave us a free will. We have a free will to do whatever we want to do, thank God. But with that free will comes consequences, okay? Now, when they say, well, hey, I have my free will, I can do whatever I want to do, then you talk about the consequences, well, no one don't want to hear that. Even as a Christian, you can be a double-minded person or one foot over the edge, but hey, there are going to be consequences. So Don't be saying, well, man, God put this temptation before me, or how come God's punishing me? Nah. It's all about you and your choices. Some folks think, you hear this nonsense about Christian nation, man. God, from the beginning of time, who wants to say, hey, folks want heaven on earth. Heaven can't be on earth. It was utopia you won't be seeking. So with the Lord, He gives us that free will. I was reading a while back, even when you go to normal history books, when the Christians were being fed to the lions during Roman times, they were singing. It was blowing their minds. So what is wrong with these people? We're feeding you to the lions and they're singing? Back then, the history was they call it the way. It wasn't called Christianity, it was called the way. But their faith was so strong that as they were being done wrong, they were singing, okay? So we have to understand that God has our back. And when He has our back, it's because our choice. Now, you can't say, well, Lord, I'm here, knowing that He had the God's going. The Lord's going to love us. Even when we feel unconditional love, but there's going to be consequences. Okay, so here we are. So He found favor. He was in charge of everything. From the time that He put him in charge of the household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the Egyptian house because of Joseph. The Lord's blessing was on all that he owned in his house and in his fields. Stop. Egyptians, Joseph was a Jew. Egyptians, Joseph was a Jew. God favored Joseph. He blessed him. And because of that, people who were pagans, who were not aware of the faith, were blessed. Okay? Now, for us, Christians, heathens, those who don't know the Lord, folks that in your household or cousins or whoever, friends that want to act a fool, because you are a Christian and you are blessed by the Lord, those who are, they can be blessed. And they have no idea that you're blessing them. Maybe you're taking over a meal. Maybe you can advise them on things that they don't see because they don't know the Lord. And whether they thank you or not, you are being a blessing to them because you are blessed. And as a Christian, we have to understand our faith that we are blessed. Okay. Now I'm going up to a point here, but we'll see what happens if and when we decide to yield to temptation. So here we are. So Joseph here, he's in a foreign land. He's a slave. He's blessed. He's blessed in the household because God loves him. He's doing what he should be doing. So I want to go back to 5. So from the time he put him in charge of the household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the Egyptian household because of Joseph. The Lord's blessing was on all that he owned in his house and in his fields. He left all that he owned under Joseph's authority. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Man, that's trust. Potiphar went out. He had to worry about his cows being fed, the books being done, bills being paid, or whatever it was back then they had to do. He had his servant, man, that was blessed by God, that was taking care of him. So Potiphar gave him a lot of power. Now I'm going to a point here too. Potiphar gave him a lot of power. He was in control of everything. And Potiphar's mind was at peace. I guarantee you, if you trusted somebody and all you gotta do is go home and eat and go sleep, that's trust, man. That's a lot of trust. Okay, and once again, that's part of being blessed. And like a lot of times, us as Christians, you gotta be trustworthy. Folks have to feel that they can trust you. Trust is something that's hard to get. It's easy to lose. But they have to have that trust. Now, Joseph was well built and handsome. Now, Joseph was well built and handsome. After some time, his master's wife looked longingly at Joseph and said, "Sleep with me." Lord have mercy. Come sleep with me. Now, we as Christians, I mean, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, we all have heard that, okay? Don't get me wrong, we all have been young. I mean, in this case right here, this is something that's sexual, okay? But it can be anything. Envy, cars, relationships, what have you. In this case here, that's all she had. She was a beautiful woman. She had her body. Come sleep with me. Now, the Bible says that Joseph was handsome, okay? It was nothing about Joseph being handsome. I mean, a lot of times folks say, that's one thing that all Christian folks have to do. When you are a believer, people are going to gravitate towards you, whether you want them or not. When you're not cussing and cutting up and this kind of thing here, people are going to gravitate to you. I mean, that's one thing at work. I tell guys, and don't get me wrong, I'm no goody two shoes. But there's some things I don't listen to. I just walk away. Or if I walk away or I don't comment, folks are watching you. I mean, so whether if you walk away, it's not saying that you don't condone, but when you walk away and then they see you walk away enough, guess what? You don't hear it no more. So, the other folks who are weak, that probably don't want to hear that, will gravitate towards you also. Okay? That's part of being a Christian. Let's talk about relationship, man or woman. When you're dealing, and first I'm going to start off with women. Good women, if you're a good spouse, a good friend, a good confidant, people are going to gravitate to you, male and female. Because there are some males that have nobody to talk to. Say, well, you know what, this person is sound, reasonable, I can talk to this person, whether you're married or not married. Because they're not looking at the bondage, they're looking at peace of mind, having someone that they can talk to. A lot of times it's sort of as talking. Men, in our culture right now, if someone sees that you have an individual that's going to work every day, taking care of their business, they're going to gravitate toward that person. Because unfortunately, we have a lot of folks in our society that don't do that. Okay? I remember one time, and it even blew my mind. All I did was I opened the door for this young lady. I mean, she was walking in, so hey, come on through. And it actually scared me. She was just so flustered that I would do that for her. I mean, she was being thankful, but it actually scared me because of how she reacted. But it was very obvious to me that that's something that we do normally that someone had never experienced. Okay? Or someone that if you have a male figure who's talking to a female and not cussing, there are some folks that have never experienced that. And they go, wow. Well, we can't have this talk while every third word being a cuss word. Or we can't have this talk not thinking that you want to go home with me. Just talking about problems, talking about grandkids, talking about kids, man. Just talking. So that's the society that we have gotten into right now. See, our society now, it's talking about Joseph was handsome. Our society now is transactional. And that means that, hey, you don't have to be handsome. Well, hey, look here, you buy me this purse, buy me this car, let's go out and have dinner. Well, hey, I got to show some gratitude. That's what our society has gotten down to now, unfortunately. Because people who have not been, their thinking is the minute. Hadn't been taught. Don't even know what the example is. Everything that we took for granted. I was telling someone the other day, my parents, we had this thing that whenever you came to their house, you spoke. I don't know whether you guys remember this, but when you walked in someone's room, you said good evening or good morning. You gave them a salutation, and you dare not walk into that room because they would call you out on that. It's just being proper, saying hello, how you all doing. Someone does something for you, you get a ride, you make darn sure that you say thank you. I remember being kids in school, we get a ride home, Did you say thank you? Okay? Those kind of things right now, folks aren't being taught. You know? And that's why we in society, and really when you do it now, things that just common to you, that folks say, wow, what is this? Well, yeah, just saying thank you, how you doing, this kind of thing here. Don't talk while your mouth's full. Those kind of things there. So anyway, so this lesson applies to everybody. Don't think that you can't or you won't, because Satan is crafty. Satan's going to come at you with things. If you don't drink, I mean, I'll tell folks this, Satan won't come with you to drink like he knows that you don't drink. But he's going to come at you with things that can crack your armor. Okay? So in this case here, this is sexual. So hey, Joseph has power, he's good looking, and hey man, nobody won't know. So here we go. Come sleep with me. Lord have mercy, come sleep with me. So what Joseph's going to do? Joseph has been through Hades. He has been sold by his brothers. His brothers didn't like him. They lied to his father. He has been through holy heck. He has. And we go through the same thing too every day. Okay? So you can wallow in your pity, or you can just keep on going and say, God is with me. Yes, we are getting older. Yes, you are going to get sick. The problem is that what's your attitude as you go through? Our God don't promise us a utopia. He says that I will be with you to give you that peace of mind to get you, to get you through your ups and downs. And along the way, guess what? We get stronger. We become a testimony because of how we live our life. Okay? So here we are. And Joseph, and he said, but he refused. Verse number 8. He refused. Look, he said to his master's wife. Once again, his master's wife. Joseph is property. He's not even considered to be a human being, but he's blessed. So whenever someone tell you that you're from slaves, keep in mind, we come from folks who were property, and guess what? God blessed us. Okay? And he will continue to bless us, no matter what they may say or do. But he refused. Look, he said to his master's wife. Look, he said to his master's wife. With me here, my master does not concern himself with anything in this house, and he has put all that he owned under my authority. No one in this house is greater than I am. He has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. So how could I do this and miss evil? How could I sin against God? Now, once again, I want y'all to catch this phrase here. He says, how can I sin against God? He didn't say, how can I sin, how can I sin against my master? Okay? Keep that point in your mind. Because when we make those decisions, we're not trespassing on that individual. It's because of God. One thing that I learned on the road, and I tell guys this all the time, hey man, no one won't know. You're down here in Brazil, you're here in Timbuktu, nobody won't know. But guess what? God knows. You have to understand that. God knows. And folks who are God-fearing know that God knows. So it's not about your spouse, your honey, your boo, or who it is. It's about God, because he will have the ultimate consequences. You can hide things, you can lie about things, and once again, as the old folks say, what you do in the dark will soon come to light. I'm a believer in that too. So he says that no one. So how can I sin against God? Although she spoke to Joseph day after day, now this is ongoing, day after day, he refused to go to bed with her. So here you got Joseph, and keep in mind, Satan's sharp. It's not going to be a one-time deal. It's a slow boil, day after day. You're having that dinner, day after day. You're walking by that jewelry, that ring, or whatever, day after day. You're converting your neighbor day after day. Okay? It's not a one-time deal. So day after day, she was on his case about coming to bed with her, day after day. Okay? So here, so like here he is. So when you have this lesson here, don't think that this is a lesson for young folks. This is a lesson for everybody. Okay. So here we go. 39, chapter 39, 1 through 12. Good, we're doing good. Now, one day, he went into the house to do his work, and none of the household servants were there. Nobody was there. Nobody will know. Now, keep in mind now, Satan's laid in wait for him. See, this is a setup. No one's there. She grabbed him by his garment and said, "Sleep with me." But leaving his garment in her hand, he escaped and ran outside. He ran away. So here we are. Nobody will know. No one's there. Just me and you. And he ran away. And because he ran away, he left his clothing there. Now, I want to talk about a number of things here. When Potiphar found out, he put Joseph in jail. But, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's make sure. I did. Anyway, we won't carry on. And so she ran outside. So let's talk about this, like this right here. One thing that the lesson goes back to, Paul talked about immorality in the church. And so, Joseph had a choice. He could have stayed. No one would have known. And, like you talk about King David and Bathsheba. This is a good point to bring this point out here. When King David had the affair with Bathsheba, what folks don't realize, this thing that you have to know, he had many wives. He had a concubine. He had all the pleasure he wanted, okay? All the pleasure that he wanted. But he wanted that one because he found himself, he was, once again, alone. The troops were out fighting, and he was bored. He was bored. He looked down, and he saw her and said, "Hey, who's that?" And which he knew who, I think that he knew who she was because her husband was his friend. Was his friend. Okay? But he made that choice that he wanted that one. Okay? So the thing about yielding to temptation is all about personal choice. Okay? So David made that personal choice. And he didn't have to. So when folks try to make you feel guilty, well, if so-and-so had done this or I've been there, that wouldn't happen, that's a lie. It's still an individual decision. Because when I tell guys about that, or I'm on the road or we're teaching young men, David had a choice. He had enough women in his life that he could go years without meeting the same one, if that was the case. But his personal choice was that one. So with Potiphar, as we know, he came in and he put Joseph in jail. Now, I think for sure, and folks say, well, he went to jail. If Potiphar didn't think that his wife was a low-down skunk, he would have had Joseph killed. So when folks say, well, he went to jail for all those years, and even though he's in jail, he's doing the best that he can, this is what we get into here. We say, hey, I'm doing the best I can. How come these things are happening? And what we don't know is that even though things are happening, we're being blessed. Okay? Now, when you're truly with the Lord, now when you're acting up, and you're wrong, there are going to be consequences. Okay? And our God, our God is a redeeming God. He is a God of reconciliation. But in your sins, when you yield to the temptation, there will be consequences. Okay? There will be consequences. And it happens to everybody. But the word makes us strong. In this case here, we're talking about a sexual infidelity. It could be being in debt. It could be cheating. Like right now, we're seeing people with these the so-called PPP loans. They had the money out there. They filed these false claims, and they got money. And now they're getting caught. Well, he's a good guy. Well, wherever that point in time, weakness, there's going to be a consequence for that. It's going to be a consequence for that. But the points that I want to make about the Lord will always make a way for you to flee temptation. And this right here, when I was reading this right here, on your last page here, page 118, A.W. Tozer. And I like this right here. It's in bold print here. It says that, for it is not mere words that nourish the soul, but God himself. And unless and until the hearers find God in personal experience, they are not better for having heard the truth. And I'm going to read that again. You're not better from hearing the truth until you have personal experience. Okay? The Bible is not an end in itself, but a means to bring an intimate and satisfying knowledge of God. They that may enter into him, and they may delight in his presence, may taste and know the inner sweetness of the very God himself in the core and in the center of our hearts. You have to experience God. And that experience will allow you to do things like, in my case, if I walked away from a job or decided not to yield to temptation, he gives us that power. Okay? God is supernatural, and you have to understand, and you may think that I'm crazy, things that we do are supernatural through him. We can't do it out of ourselves. Okay? When we are hurt and we have been done wrong, as Joseph was here, and he had to be hurt and say, man, look here, my brothers have turned to me, I'm a slave. I've been faithful to my master, his master. Not his friend, his dad, but his master. I've done everything that he asked me. And now this person here ruined my good thing. Woe is me. Now he could have gone into to depression. He could have committed suicide. He could have done all kinds of things. But he continued to have faith in God. And guess what? God continued to bless him. So, and I can tell my kids this too. Even though you're going through, man, don't mean that God's not blessing you. Because he has to teach you. He has to build you up. He has to make you stronger. Now, like I said, with Joseph, if Potiphar really thought that he was messing with his wife, he would kill him. See, but the reason why he went to jail is because now Potiphar, he's embarrassed. This man's walking around with no clothes on. I mean, he's trying to get away, do the right thing, and if he ran out there with no clothes, then folks saw, well, hey, what's going on? People talk. So, social media, folks talk. Whether it's true or not, they talk. So you can have the choice of worrying about what they say or who you are, or turning it over to God. Okay? I mean, even now, I saw when someone committed suicide because someone said on social media, come on, guys. We have to talk to our people. We have to talk to our kids. We have to talk to one another. It's just like he's saying here. We have the experience. So Joseph was in bondage. He was a slave doing the best that he could do. And now I'm being punished. Well, what was me? What do I do? You can have a pity party, or you can just keep on going. Now, I don't want to get ahead of the story, but we know how things worked out. But keep in mind, even though he was in prison before he got set free, it was 7 years. 7 years before he got his chance. But he kept on life believing. 7 years. Okay? So we as Christians, once again, I've seen so much on TV this week, man, people have lost their minds. And all that's going to change this right now is prayer. That gun that guy had on TV that had the Glock clip, I could not believe my eyes. I've seen guns. I didn't know such a thing exists. A little clip, fire 30 bullets, man, and boom. What about all the innocent folks? But when you see that, that means that there are folks who have no regards for life. Not just the criminal, but people like you and I walking around. If you allow yourself to believe lies or whatever, or indulge your mind, you're open to weakness. I mean, at some point in time, you just got to stand up to what's going on, and it takes work. We all want to put our heads, in a hole, wake up tomorrow, God take care of it, okay? No, it takes, like this guy says, you have to personal experience. You can't have a personal experience unless you're doing something, period. What we want to do is I'm in my prayer closet, I'm fasting, I'm praying for you. No, I mean, that's good. Has to be done. Reading the word has to be done. But then it takes some work. It takes some faith. It takes some belief. And I mean, all the way through. Even when things don't go well, you have the confidence and the faith that it is going to go well. You guys know that I'm an engineer, and a lot of times when we go out there and work on a problem, and you put in all these numbers, and of course you got all these guys sitting around saying, hey, are you sure that like it's going to work? Wait. It's not working. Wait. So you go with what you go, and maybe an hour or later two, the process of that piece of machinery will line back up. But it takes faith and confidence in what you're doing. The Lord is the same way. As we go through this spiritual life, I mean, and why I'm excited about teaching this, we thinking that we're retired and on the back end, wrong. We go back to Caleb. Caleb was 80 years old, man, and he was wanting to fight, when the guys went over to the promised land. He said that, he was wanting to go one more round. So the fight's not over. Be encouraged. Be aware of the wiles of the devil. We're all susceptible to temptation. And even though we're in the midst of the darkness, as Christians, the Lord is there with us. He's there with us. And he's still blessing us. I mean, even when you're in the valley, he's still blessing. Even if you think that you're in a bad way, at least he's giving you sound mind to begin to figure your way out. Or figure your way to solve the problem. Or to figure out a way to be strong when other folks are weak. Life's tough. I think that our problem is there are a whole lot of folks that don't understand life is tough. You got to work at living life. Somehow someone has put it into their minds that, hey, man, I do this and this, and it's going to be all right. Right in the glory. It just doesn't work that way. I had one guy, I remember too, I had a friend of mine, his son, wife, they ended up raising their grandkids. The kid was 62, and I think the child was maybe, 5, 6. But anyway, I talked to him now, but they adopted that child, and right now he's in college. Ken is 73 or 74, and it's probably the best thing that happened to him. So he had to run to keep up with the kid. So never think. So we're here, we're breathing. God's good through our ups and downs, and that's all I have. It's 9:39. It's a good lesson. I could talk a whole lot more. There's a whole lot more that can be gained from this about temptation. But always remember one thing: it's your personal choice. And when we get mad, and want to get mad at folks and blame it on them, you're mad because you knew what you did was wrong. Now you're going to try to find someone to put it on. That's the problem. Okay, that's all I got. Any questions or comments? I'm sorry I did all the talking, but this is a very, very good lesson. Questions and comments? It's 9:39. That's it? All right, good lesson. Let's pray. Lord, thank you once again for allowing the visitation of your Holy Spirit to be here while we teach this lesson, Lord. It's not me, it's you, and you got us through what we need to guide through for folks to hear. Lord, we don't know what may have been said, how it may be received, but to each individual, it may have a meaning to each individual. Let your word travel, let your word manifest, guide us, and keep us, Lord. Lord, as we go through our service here, we pray for our pastors and all the ones who are here. Lord, we're still dealing with illnesses and COVID and all kinds of things that are going on in the world, Lord. But you be there. Guide us, keep us, Lord. Allow us to be strong as we go through our trials and tribulations, Lord. Also, we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus,